a dodecahedron in about a week. She was once fired by Steve Jobs 3 times in one day. And teaches pre-calculus and geometry at Lowell High School in San Francisco and contributes radio commentaries for KQED-FM. She's a language and logic nerd, yes, and did her PhD in comparative literature at Stanford. Elizabeth.
There was a locksmith. Mic check. Turn it off. It's off? Oh.
Off is a problem. Can we stick it on the table?
You're good to go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a locksmith who was unjustly accused and convicted of terrible, terrible crimes. He was thrown into the deepest, darkest secret prison at the back of Beyond, and he was left there to rot in an isolation cell. After a while, his wife on the outside, who loved him very much, went before the king and begged to be allowed to give him a prayer rug so he could observe his prostrations. The king considered this a lawful request, and so she was allowed to bring him the rug that she had made. The prisoner was so grateful to get this rug that he gladly accepted and performed his prostrations in his prison cell. And as he did so, day after day, he began to notice that the secret to solving all of his problems was right in front of his nose. One morning, as he kneeled down, he realized that his wife had woven into the prayer rug the exact pattern of the lock that imprisoned him. And so all of a sudden he understood that if he could just persuade his guards to see that they were trapped in prison too, they could work together and they would have everything they needed to escape. So he spoke to his jailers, and they saw that they were in prison too. So they formulated a plan. They would bring him scrap metal, and he would make beautiful, useful objects that they could sell in the marketplace so they could accumulate what they needed for their journey. The proceeds would cover their food and supply costs, and they pooled their resources and skills, and then they were able to leave the prison. And if they could bring him the strongest piece of metal they could find, then he could fashion a key, and that would open the lock to the prison that was keeping them all in bondage. So one night, after everything had been prepared, the locksmith and his jailers unlocked the prison and walked out into the cool evening air. They knew they had a long journey ahead of them, but they were so excited to be outside, to be free, that they started to notice all these patterns and symmetry in mathematics, and they became genuinely curious. They left behind the prayer rug so that other prisoners might learn how to make their own escape too. It did take them several days, but eventually they arrived in the locksmith's home village, where he was reunited with his loving wife and their beautiful flock of unicorns. His former guards became his friends, and his neighbors and his colleagues, and everyone lived together in peace and harmony and a creative sense of mathematical discovery and flow. So, with their new freedom, they were able to start expanding their attention and focusing on solving other world problems that were far more important and pressing, and they could do so for the benefit of all sentient beings. So I've been a meditation teacher for a lot longer than I've been a math teacher, and I really love this story because I think it shows us the whole process of achieving freedom from the psychological prison that we know as a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is what we call in psychology an introject. It's a momentary identification or an over-identification with those internalized negative beliefs about ourselves that cast a spell over us. And they make us believe that we really are in this prison. But an identification is just a momentary defense mechanism. And noticing that you're having it is enough to free yourself from its spell. So this is what we can do to help our students wake up from this enchantment. It doesn't work to tell a student to have a growth mindset, because that is using a fixed mindset to cultivate a growth mindset, and telling is not teaching. To truly a growth mindset, we have to invite students to notice their own inner fixed mindset moments, which are just like weather systems that are happening inside them. We can help them by reminding them that this is just a moment of temporary insanity, and that catching it in the act and noticing what's actually going on inside themselves is enough to help them achieve freedom. But you can't dislodge one thing from the psyche without replacing it with something better. And that something better is awareness and noticing. And my great teacher, Fred Orr, taught me, and I use it in all my teaching, that noticing shifts the energy. And in fact, it's the only technique that really works. So we have to teach students how to notice their own fixed mindset and to refrain from acting on it. Notice and refrain. Notice and don't react. Notice and don't react. And before long, they'll begin to realize that they, in fact, are brilliant too. And that by noticing their fixed mindset moments, we can help them to escape from the prison of identification with their own limiting beliefs.